Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my reaction to Doctor Who Season 1, Bad Wolf, / Series 14 / Season 40, Episode 7, The Legend of Ruby Sunday, Part 1 of the two-part season finale, with, that time recording, it's Thursday the 20th of March, so with this coming Saturday's Empire of Death on Saturday 22nd. First of all, I was initially going to do this reaction on Sunday, the 16th, but we ended up, and ended up not being able to because it was Father's Day, and I can't remember what we did before. But then, oh yeah, we rewatched Rogue because my dad hadn't seen it the week before, so we watched it, and then, which by the way was even better on the second viewing. Surprise there, not a surprise there. But then we went to watch the Murder on the Orient Express 2017 film. So I was going to record this then, but wasn't able to because we went to see the film. It's all right. I'll save it for the Monday. And then I got sick. Had problems with my asthma, a terrible backache, and I just felt awful on Monday, and still kind of recovering from that. So I've got a little bit less chest pains, but it's kind of been going up and down a bit. But went to the doctor yesterday, so yeah, and after haircut, of course. Yes, and I do like it. But yeah, so still kind of recovering from that. So if I don't look or sound so well during this video, then that's why I've not been feeling so great. You can probably hear my breathing. It's probably a bit heavier and deeper. Yeah. Also, this issue of Doctor Who magazine's out, so go get it. Yeah, slight plug, but not a sponsored one. It's just it's there. I got it today. It was there. Just bring it down here whilst I record it. So yeah, delayed reaction due to change of plans on Sunday and feeling terrible, or at least not very well, the remaining couple days. And I'm still not that great, but gotta still do this. And I will also not be able to go and see the Legends of Ruby Sunday and Empire of Death double feature tomorrow night because, firstly, working most of Saturday, and secondly, nearest cinema playing it is not my town because we don't have a cinema anymore, and not the next nearest town, which does too, but neither of them are showing it. The nearest one is, well, my town is Bishop Stortford. The nearest place is Stevenage. Although I'd probably go to Cambridge if I could. With two of the three cinemas are showing it. Surprisingly, the one nearest to the train station, the Light, it was not. But I'm not going to be able to go and see it at any cinema. If it was Stortford or even down the road in Harlow, maybe, but no, Bishop Stortford or down the road in Harlow, maybe. But no, not going to be able to go to it. And again, as mentioned, I'm going to be working. Heck, I got an hour at the very end off just so I'm able to go and see a show in Hoddesdon. So I'm not even going to see Empire of Death either on broadcast or recorded on overnight. I'm probably going to wait till Sunday, so we're probably not going to be back on time. So yeah, Empire of Death reaction will come no sooner than Sunday because I'm not going to be seeing it any sooner than Sunday. I will completely avoid spoilers, hopefully. Okay, so yeah, but considering how late some of these reactions have been, Dot and Bubbles was like minutes before I had to go to bed on the Friday night after it aired, and before I had to get up for the Saturday Rogue aired. So that was just a few hours ahead of Rogue's iPlayer dropping. So, and seeing it's the series finale, it's probably not going to be as much of a deadline. So definitely, Empire of Death's reaction may be a bit later. Right, so nearly 5 minutes into this reaction, let's get the preamble out of the way. Okay, so Legend of Ruby Sunday, I had a blast with this episode. This was some great build on. Yeah, most of it is like almost all set up for next week's episode, and most of it is all going to be paid off then, bar the revelations at the end of this episode. But I think it's effective setup. Sometimes some episodes do need to be set up. I think we've come to terms with that. Some episodes need to be mostly set up in all, especially if the next one's going to be even bigger. Like, I know some people are going to like complain that it's all or mostly set up, but sometimes that's fine. If so long as the week after pays off, then I think it's fine. So say see episodes like the Pandorica Opens, or even back with Flux with Halloween Apocalypse, which was all set up, but I was like, okay, so long as the rest of the series, or at least the finale, can stick the landing, it's fine. It's fine setup. Unfortunately, it didn't. With Flux, it didn't quite stick the landing at the end. Um, it's not with the last two episodes. Certainly not with the penultimate, at least. Um, but ones like The Big Bang, on the other hand, they stick the landing with all of their setups and stories and lines. So this one works better as a setup for the next episode, whilst also kind of doing its own arcs and stuff, leading to the big twist, better than the Timeless Children episodes did for this series 12 finale. Not Timeless Children, Ascension of the Cybermen, part one of that two-parter. Yeah, that two-parter has more problems than just the canon change, guys. We've been saying this for 4 years now. Anyway, so yeah, speaking of continuity changes, this episode likes to play a little bit fast and loose with that. But yeah, I won't go too much into that. Let's just say that Russell is playing a little fast and loose with the chronology, but at the same time, I don't suppose it's supposed to be taken too seriously. I'm going to repeat myself. Don't take it too seriously. It's Doctor Who. We've kind of given up with taking continuity seriously at this point. Like, yeah, it's great to have continuity and canon, but this is a series about time travel into different dimensions and timelines, and someone who can change their face, body, mindset, etc., on a regular basis due to death or being injured or old age or illness, very bad illness, or maybe even if they just choose to, or if they're forced to, they can change totally different person. The series has infinite possibilities for storytelling, even if it has to reuse a couple of ideas now and again, or retread on a couple of ideas, or even adapt some old ones that weren't used or were used in other media. Or some media adapts some TV stories like the Target novels. So yeah, there's infinite story possibilities, and that's why this series has lasted so long and has like millions of stories in all of the media. Yeah, so yeah, and because of that, that means that continuity is not going to be exactly straightforward either. So yeah, that's not even going into the alternative timelines. So yeah, don't take it terribly seriously, guys. There's a little bit of fast and loose here, but overall, don't take it. Just have a bit of fun with it. But yeah, speaking of which, I did like the. I'm going to say it's red herrings with Sue regarding Susan. I think it's safe to say it's red herrings regarding Susan because of Susan Triad. This is going to be slightly spoilery, this reaction, but yeah, Susan Triad is not Susan Foreman. At least not at the time of this episode airing. I mean, maybe Empire of Death will say, well, actually, but no, considering the ending of this episode, I think it's very clear she isn't. Maybe Ruby's mother is. Like, the end of the episode looked like it was going to reveal that was going to be the last, like, after the other big twist. Maybe it was going to be like the second big twist at the end of the episode. Sometimes you get like two big twists, like say Army of Ghosts Cybermen turn up. Well, I suppose we already knew they were the big villain, but them coming to Earth was going to be the cliffhanger. Like all of the Cyber Army having taken over the Earth. That was the big cliffhanger of the episode, and then the spear opened and the Daleks appeared, and like that was the even bigger twist. Or like about another Sideman story, World Enough in Time, where Bill was turned into a Sideman. That was the big reveal, and then the Johnson Master turns up. That's another big twist. So you could have two big twists back to back. You get the big build up one with spoiler, it's Sutek, and then just at the very end you get one more big twist reveal, and it would be it looked like it was going to be Ruby's mum, but I think they're going to save that for next episode. So to find out then, but Susan Foreman could still be Ruby's mother. That's still a possibility at the time of this video being recorded, as of Empire of Death's BBC iPlayer and cinema screenings release and cinema screening onwards. The true revelation, if it's going to be in that episode, it probably will be the definitive revelation. Of course, everybody on the production team already knows by now. As for, even if it's not revealed in this story, it'll probably be sometime next season. But since this season's been building up to it, I think they'll do it in the last episode. We got the Susan Triad stuff out the way already. Maybe they'll show how Susan Triad got taken over by Sutek, and how she fits into all of this next episode. Because this one mostly focuses on her in the present and having the bad dreams that ties into her previous appearances in the season and Wild Blue Yonder. She's been in every episode since Church on Ruby Road plus Wild Blue Yonder in the 60th specials. Although it doesn't time with every single one of those appearances. They only really mention the ones they actually properly notice her, like in Space Babies, in Boom, in Dot and Bob Ball, and in Rogue. They don't mention 73 yards, but that was an aborted timeline, and they kind of missed her in Devil's Cord, and don't really recognise her in the other two, Ruby Road and Wild Blue Yonder. They didn't even see her. That was only Sir Isaac Newton. Could it might have something to do with the whole Mavity thing? That could be a potential theory, like, because of the Mavity thing, that's why Susan Triads has been popping up since then. Or they got the same actress who played Mrs. Merridew and just had her play multiple characters and just had that character be an extra one for fans to like spot and go like, possibly they might have liked the actress so much they asked her to play this other mysterious character who's been cameoing in every other episode of the series, minus the other two 60th specials. Possibly, they might explain in the next episode. Hopefully. For the rest of it, the Dream Window stuff is pretty cool. It's pretty great. The way they made that is pretty great. The unit stuff is pretty great. I know some people have been complaining about Kate hiring teenagers to work with her. Like, Morris is apparently like 13, and Rose Noble is about 15, 16 in this episode. She was 15 in Starbeast, but we could be another year forward from then, so 15, 16. But this, like, Morris is a child genius, like, super genius. I think everybody forgot about that when they were complaining about him being 13 working for UNIT, and like they forgot he's like a child genius. Like, guys, at least taking the genius. I get your point of view. I get where you're coming from, but you do know he is a child genius. Like, a child genius probably would be working for UNIT, like, even if it was part-time on the weekends, with a bit of money, were paid part-time on the weekend role or apprenticeship. Well, okay, it might not be an apprenticeship for him, might be more for Rose, but guys, you do remember he's a child genius. Yes, he's a teenager, but he's also a genius, so he might be on that part-time weekend pay. Which would kind of make sense if Ruth Madley's character is off for the weekend, like she needs a holiday or something, so they get their child genius to do a few days on a Saturday and Sunday over the school holiday, or maybe a couple of school holidays. Again, like I said, I'm not sure exactly when in the year it's supposed to be. Ruby said it was about June, July in Devil's Court, so it could be August by the time this episode airs. It could be the summer holidays. He could be doing a summer job. Child labour is not amazing, but take some factors into account. There could be reasons. Same with Rose, who could even be on an apprenticeship, or filling in for her mother, if Donna, who's working there, maybe she's doing a couple of shifts for her in her spare time, or during school holidays or on the weekends again. So yeah, so again, where the people are coming from with their points of view on like Kate hiring teenagers to do unit jobs, but child genius potentially working on the weekend or during school holidays, whilst Ruth Maddie's character is and or Donna are on holiday slash doing something else, and in case of Rose, also could be on an apprenticeship. Yeah, see, there could be explanations, guys. They might even say so in the next episode. I'm not ruling anything out. Now, when is Anwin Cooper Jones going to start working for Unit? She's about the same age as Rose Noble. And Russell did say he wanted to work with Eve Miles again. Then again, I could see Anwin, when she's a bit older, wanting to restart Torchwood in her parents' honour, well, mother's honour. I could kind of see Anwin as the lead of a new Torchwood team in another 5 years' time, 10 years' time. That's really mostly it prior to the revelation. But I think I think as a setup episode, this one works. Also, this might actually be Mel Bush's best episode. Full stop. Best story. Full stop. And I thought she was fantastic in the audio, The Juggernauts, but this might be Mel Bush's best story as a character so far. Like she was like a little personal thing. My mum does not really like Bonnie Langford. Certainly not back in the 80s when she was in EastEnders. Well, actually before EastEnders, but certainly when she was back in Doctor Who and back when she was being screaming a lot and being the very most stereotypical Doctor Who companion that the 80s probably had, if not the entire classic series. At least since maybe either Susan or Victoria, depending on your point of view. So yeah, she's probably the most stereotypical classic series companion, especially from the 80s, which unfortunately was a bit of a mindset that the producers even had at the time, let alone the public. So, which is why Ace was such a breath of fresh air when she came in, let alone when we got to Rose and the other modern companions. So, or even Grace in the TV movie. So, having Mel seemingly having a bit of a redemption during the expanded media days, much like the Sixth Doctor, for example, and even more so on screen in the 60th. Like, okay, maybe she didn't have a huge amount to do in the giggle, but she was certainly more in line with the expanded media version of the character rather than the 80s one, but still retaining some of that 80s characteristics in there so that we know it's the same character. But this episode kind of takes that and basically dials up. So far, and it looks like the next episode will be as well, because we've got the bike chasing to come as well. Like this one basically dials up her character growth a bit more, even if like we still have a bit more to do in terms like with a little bit more to learn. And I think there was a bit of a rush bit where she explains how she met the Doctor, possibly not even referencing the wrong Doctor's audio, but like to establish some backstory in the series, because we got introduced to her before we had an introduction story to her. Big Finish had to come back to that later in 2013 and explain why she met the Doctor in two different points in time. But that's enough. That's a story for another time. I still have to check that one out, actually. But story for another time. So it's trying to establish something for the TV series, and it's kind of a little bit rushed. But other than that, this episode and possibly next week's might be probably Mel's best story as a character. She definitely like telling the Doctor to get a grip of something after he has a bit of an emotional breakdown after a soldier gets killed due to sort of being his fault, and also that soldier was kind of also kind of brought on himself, like not like he was not taunting the villain. It's just like he wasn't quite being very clever. He kind of got a bit too, or a bit too clever. I like either not very clever or got too clever. Either one. Like you guys decide if he was too clever or not clever enough. You decide. But Mel kind of like is giving him like the stern motivation, like we need you You got to do this. Get a grip. Wasn't your fault, mostly. Come on, we got to do this. And if Susan Triad is your granddaughter, Susan Foreman, then like we really got to go back and we're gonna go and have that big reunion and stop this big bad from coming through, sir, or something along those lines. That's basically it. That's the basics. But that one moment alone is basically the best Mel moment, and probably better than most of her moments from the 80s alone. And I actually thought there was some moments in her 80s stories where she was actually pretty good. Like, I actually think she's pretty good in Delta and the Bannerman, which I honestly think is a very underrated story, full stop. And she has some pretty good moments in her first story, Terror of the Verb, which doesn't scream until the very end of that episode. So, yeah, I think Time the Rani's probably her worst, but um, I think we could say that for a lot of things regarding that story. No offense to that story. No offense to anybody who likes it. If you like it, great. I know how you feel regarding when it comes to Delta and the Bannerman, at least. But yeah, and actually, I think she was pretty good in Ultimate Foe as well when she went to go and try and rescue the Doctor. But I think this episode, at least for the TV series, and maybe on par with the Juggernauts. I haven't heard all of the audios, or read all the other stories, etc. But on par with the Juggernauts, at the very least, for her strongest one as a character. I would say, if not this, then the Juggernauts. I think that one was also, again, that was a specific moment in part 4. It's for the mainly why I'm comparing it, like when she gets when she learns about Davros, she really takes out her anger on him, so to speak. It's between these two scenes, that one in Juggernauts and this one in this episode, basically the highlights of her character as far as I'm concerned. Which probably is why I'm saying those are the strongest stories with her, specific for at least for character wise. So yeah, and yes, and now we come to the twist. There's always a twist at the end. But this time we have two. Susan Twist is not Susan Foreman. She is, in fact, a Harbinger, as is new character Harriet Harbinger, who turns out to be a Harbinger. Similar clever wordplay as we got with Henry Harbinger in The Devil's Cord. And it is revealed that they are the Harbinger for the one who waits, the king of all gods, Sutek from Pyramids of Mars. That was an amazing twist. Absolutely amazing. Build-up was great. The revelation was great. The red herrings were in the right spot. It was so good. Okay, Sutek's design is a bit odd. Like, I don't even know where his eyes are. I like the red. Like, he's got rubies on his head. I think he's got his eyes there. He's looking more dog-like, which is sort of like in reference to him being like Anubis, an Egyptian god, which the Osirans, Sutek's race, inspired. And he does sort of have a sort of doggish-like face in his real face in Pyramids. His main, I don't know if you can actually see him. He's up there somewhere. You can't really see him properly, but his main design has the mask over it, which is his best design, by the way. It's iconic. But when that's off, it does sort of look like a kind of I think it's supposed to be a dog, but it doesn't quite show that well. The Tales from the TARDIS Omnibus version of Pyramids of Mars, it was on tonight. I think it's already finished. I'm going to have to watch that. But certainly for the original version of the story, I don't know if they quite got the dog-esque like characteristics down. It just looked a bit odd. So I think they're closer with the dog design here, but because it's CG and he's much bigger, it is a bit odd looking at the moment. They might scale him down a bit when he in the next episode if he decides to go to a human-sized version, or they might have a bit more of a practical version for him at a later date as well. But I actually think the CG works on him. It's just a bit odd seeing the new design of him compared to the original two. That being said, I kind of like the newer design compared to what he actually looks like underneath the mask in the older episode. But the version with the mask is always going to be the iconic, definitive version of the character. Like, no matter what they may change in the omnibus version, the version that with the mask, with the that costume, that's his definitive outfit. That's his definitive look, and it hits the strongest. That's why it's the one that's most replicated in all of his expanded media stories. They don't show the dog face; they show the mask. So that's the iconic Sutek, and maybe we'll see that this later in the episode, or maybe they'll just scale down the dog one and have a bit more of a more convincing prosthetic one than the old one. Nothing against the old one. The new one, we got better materials and better tech, and it probably look a little bit and a bit more of a budget, so it'll look a bit better. And with a bit of CG top ups, but not a full CG creation. That will just be when he's in the bigger dog creature thing that we see at the end of this episode, that started the next one. But we'll see how that looks. But yeah, looking great. At least for now. For now, it's looking great. Next episode, they might modify it a bit more to be more in line with Pyramids of Mars, and hopefully, Pyramids of Mars won't be modified too much to be in line with this one. Maybe CGing the dog face, but the mask is going to stay. Hopefully, I'm probably going to be eating my words after watching the omnibus version. You guys seen the omnibus version? You might even let me know in advance. Actually, no, don't do that. I'll go and do that first. If not tonight, then maybe tomorrow. But anyway, let's wrap this up because this is going to be the longest reaction I can tell. So overall, The Legend of Ruby Sunday is a very good introduction to the series finale, and does a good job at building up the threat, to building up the suspense, the revelations regarding Ruby's past, and trying to find out the mysteries of Susan Triad, Ruby's mum, and the one who waits, and building up everything to the grand finale. And yeah, I think this was brilliant to watch. I think I'd still place it middle episode ranking out of the 8, including Church and Ruby Road. But we'll see how Empire of Doom Death goes. But I probably would rank this in the middle, even though I had such a blast with it. With Rogue and 73 Yards being I think 73 Yards is still the best in my opinion. But Rogue is my favourite. It's between those two. Then Church on Ruby Road. Then this. We'll see how Empire of Death fares. Then Dot and Bubble. Then Devil's Cord. Then Boom. Then Space Babies. Yeah, I like Boom, but I don't think it's as amazing as everybody's saying. I actually prefer Devil's Cord and Dot and Bubble to that. And then besides Space Babies, the rest of the series to that. So yeah, I think we're about the middle mark. Hoping next episode will be even higher, even if it's just one spot, which will mean it'll be the same play. Both of them will be in the same space for the overall season ranking, with both episodes as the same story, same serial. But next episode, Empire of Death, is the season finale, the final episode. Sutek has apparently won, but the Doctor still has hope. Ruby Sunday, and who is Ruby's mother? Hopefully, all will be revealed next episode. Oh, and Mrs. Flood. She's seemingly a baddie in this episode, but she might not be as bad next episode. We'll see how she goes. Her character motivations are still clouded in mystery, and she could honestly be she's the ongoing mystery for next season. I think that was established earlier on. She's the ongoing mystery, but I think we are going to find out who Ruby's mother is in the finale. At the very least, I think, if at the very least they're going to find out the identity, but then the search to find her again will continue. There is the idea it could be a brand new character completely, and I think that would be fine, but they're going to have the whole episode deal with that, have her involved in quite a lot of the episode. If it's an established character, then okay, not so much. Maybe to reintroduce them or to go into a bit more depth. But if it's someone completely brand new we don't know, then they will have to do twice as much work with establishing said character, as opposed to say Mrs. Flood, who we've already met, or Susan Foreman, who is a former companion and lead character of the show, even though they haven't been in it for nearly 50 years, not including Five Doctors or Dimensions in Time or Expanded Media. Um, so, yeah, so if it's an established character, they wouldn't have to do as much work, but if it's brand new, they'll have to spend a lot more time in the next episode dealing with that, even if the arc does continue into season 2, series 15, season 41. Then, yeah, but it would still be fine. They just have to spend a bit more time with the new character. If it's an established character, even one who's been introduced at the start of the series / Christmas, that's not too bad. And that also gives season 2 a bit more space to work with that as well. But, you know, if it's a brand new character, they've got twice as much work to do plus everything else in the next episode before they leave stuff for next season. Right, we'll see how it goes. I shall see you guys sometime next. Well, I've got to go on. I'm going on holiday on the Friday, on the 28th. So, before Friday, the 28th, I shall hopefully see you for Empire of Death reaction. As of a season 1 retrospective, might do one before we go on holiday, but you might have to wait until the second week of July for that, unless I do one on holiday. So yeah, I did do I did do a reaction and no season to the final episode of Redacted season 1 and an overall thoughts one on that. But then that overall thoughts reaction couldn't get uploaded until we got back. So we'll see how it goes. Right, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.